welcome to part two
Woo woo.
of this podcast episode. And
Mhm.
today we're here with Jake Michael,
Hello, hello.
and we're here to download you the waves of wonder. And Jake has so much
Oh.
wisdom here for us to share. And if you don't know, I've been working as a space holder for 15 years, and the Ascension Academy is a space holding school.
Mm.
That is a big part of why you're here. So if you tap into this particular moment, is because you are here to hold space first for yourself, and second to others in the world. It's in the psychedelic renaissance, and really bringing the wisdom
Mm.
of our integration path in this work to be able to provide safer,
Yes.
sacred, and supportive experiences to ourselves and to others.
Mm-hmm.
So, why this is so important? The vision of our community is to truly spread basic skills that we
Basic.
all get to learn, which are basic but not
Basic, but not
easy.
easy. That's
Let's
right.
say with that.
Yeah.
And working with the Zendo Project has been such a big part of my life to really develop harm reduction, trauma-informed facilitation, integration, preparation, really
Mm.
understanding the relationship that these beans and these medicines require for
Mm.
us to be safe and to also be productive in
Mm.
our experiences.
Yeah.
And I love our burning love story that we got to dive into that. So make sure to watch part one. Then now we get to integrate your journey, Jake,
Mm-hmm.
as a space holder and the work that you're doing in the world.
Yeah.
So I would love for you to share who are the people that you work with? What are
Mm.
really the struggles and the support that you are getting to provide?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, a big core of the work that I do is about connection to the body and connection to the somatic space. And I love engaging with people who are really deep in the intellectual worlds, right? Who are really fascinated with life and how things are unfolding and love the science and technology space, but feel like something's maybe missing, right? Feel like some sort of hollowness inside of them, or just a sense of dissatisfaction of like, something doesn't feel right. Like I don't feel like I'm getting what I really want out of life. And what I've found is that there are all sorts of traditions that have a lot of wisdom that can support us into feeling more of a sense of fullness, more of a sense of satisfaction in our lives and in our journeys. And so, yeah, I'm stoked to connect with anybody who is interested in deepening into the somatic spaces, into the body awareness, and someone who wants to master themselves, someone who wants to become the most authentic and vibrant expression of who they are in this world, and someone who maybe has a sneaking suspicion that doing that is a great gift, right? And I think so much of us are tapped into, at least at some level, sometimes very deep down there, that our expression in the world is a gift. It's beautiful, right? And it's needed. So anyone who's feeling that calling, anyone who wants to drop a little bit deeper and is looking for some support or guidance in that, super here for it.
I love it. So we're gonna give you a transmission that I love, Jake, that you stepping into your service in the world and really bridging the science, the technology with spirituality
Mm,
and body wisdom.
mm,
And we're gonna give a little tour on your methodology, the
mm-hmm,
Waves of Wonder methodology, for
mm-hmm.
you that is listening to be able to apply already in your life this concept of connecting with the elements.
Yeah.
And what Jake has found really supportive, have a pathway of integration, which is
Mm,
what I work with my clients. It's like, what's your integration framework that those that are meant to receive that are meant to understand, that
mm.
really need to be seen in their experience with a framework that works for them. And I love that you're stepping into that role,
Mm,
Jake, because it's
thank you.
so needed.
Yes.
And I know there's so many people out there that will get a lot from this conversation.
I hope so.
So tell me about the importance of meditation and movement. And I would
Mm,
love for you to drop in already in the journey
mm,
that you feel is we'll take them to the other side.
Yeah, God willing, right? Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, yeah, I have been exposed to and connected with so many different frameworks and archetypes and mythologies in my life, and really encourage everybody to explore for themselves what resonates because there's so much out there, right? And one of the frameworks, the archetypal context that I find so grounding and supporting is the elements, right? Because these are so fundamental. And just to touch on this for a second, I used to think like, oh, back when they thought it was just, earth, air, fire, and water, they were so primitive and so lost. And now we know there's all these atoms with different numbers of electrons flying around and all of the incredible modern science we have. But a really interesting point is actually the elements are perfectly aligned with modern science. So when you think of earth, that is the solid state of matter. And when you think of water, that is the fluid state of matter. And air is the gas state of matter. And then fire is temperature, it's heat, it's how much vibration we have in these different aspects of life. So I just want to highlight that this is not some abstract kind of intellectual thing. It's an acknowledgement that there are different densities in the world, right? There's the gas, the air, there's the water, the movement of life, and there's the ground beneath us, the solidity. And throughout all of that is power, right? The power of fire, the power of life energy. And so the methodology that I'm cultivating is built around that framework. And so it moves through each of the elements and is connected to this possibility of cultivating balance and harmony amongst the elements, both within our bodies and with our actions in the world.
So, Jake, what does it take to master yourself?
Mm,
Yes, for really to start working in people with that level, being like mastering yourself. Can you share with me what's the importance of that?
yeah. Yeah. Master yourself is the first pillar because that has been such a central component of my life, right? Self mastery is this way of coming into a deeper understanding of who we are, right? There's that ancient wisdom of know thyself. And in order to master oneself, it requires cultivating knowledge about oneself. So, master yourself is associated with the air element. And one example of wisdom that we share within that context of the air element is the power of the pause. And this is such an important piece that I think is so often overlooked in life is the power of just taking a breath, taking a moment in a situation. I think so often we are controlled by the impulses that move through us. Someone says something to us and we lash out at them. We say something and immediately regret it, right? And so the power of the pause is about starting to introduce moments in our days and in our lives where we take a beat, where we feel the impulse to do something, whether it be lash out verbally or physically, and or just to have any kind of reactivity. And we take one beat before we move forwards. It doesn't mean we have to change our path. We can still call our friend something stupid or whatever it is. But what happens is within that practice, a little flicker of self mastery is born, right? Is like, I have the freedom to act or not act. I'm not controlled by the impulses that move through my body and my emotional system. So that's a foundation where people can start to open the door into that feeling of freedom within my own being and safety in navigating those internal and external spaces.
Yes, and to have more self control and
Exactly.
stop doing stupid things.
Trying
And
at
we're
least.
always going to do it, but
Yeah.
still, at least getting a lot better
Yeah. Yeah. Getting the reins hooked up a little bit. Yeah.
and bringing a lot less harm.
Yeah. Steer that ship.
I love that. So tapping into the oh yeah, also before we get into that, like how does one practice the pause?
Mm.
How can we develop that? Or what is the work that you do with people to support that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the foundational practices for all of the work that I do is seated meditation. So I've really connected with Vipassana as an example and Zazen from the Zen tradition. But seated meditation is a practice that really requires a lot of subtlety in the way that it's taught and practiced. I know a lot of people who have engaged in meditation and thought, oh, this is not useful. It feels like a waste of time. And a lot of that happens because they're exposed to some sort of teaching that isn't able to really drop them into the core of the practice. Um, for example, I've heard a lot of people say, "Yeah, I sat down to meditate, but I was just thinking the whole time. I totally couldn't do it," you know? And it's like, well, that's not a problem at all, actually. You can totally sit down and meditate while you're thinking all of the time because it's more about cultivating a relationship with what's coming up in the mind and body. So yeah, seated meditation practice is super fundamental and something that I am really excited to share with anyone who's interested.
Yes, I got to do Jake's meditation. Actually, I think
Mm.
his first one.
Yeah, yeah,
His
guided
first one
meditation. Boom,
ever.
boom, 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 boom.
And it was incredible. Definitely making peace
Mm.
with meditation, making the understanding of the need to pause in life, in a
Yeah,
life that is so freaking busy, and to really see the result of
yeah,
that. That you're not that you have less, I think, yeah, you have less problems
it's
because you're
true. Yeah,
just better with yourself
yeah,
throughout the process. And that is extremely valuable.
yeah. And one thing that for example, just to paint a picture for y'all, like I remember when I first started to meditate, I would get into a practice and I would sit down and be like, yeah, I'm gonna sit for 20 minutes, and then 3 minutes would go by and be like, oh, but I'm like really thirsty right now. So I would get up from my seat and I would go get water, and then I would sit back down and then be like, oh, but I'm really itchy, so I'm gonna move my body. And I kept on like just moving around. And so the power of the pause, like that's the reason that the seated meditation practice is supported for that in particular, is that you'll have all sorts of impulses of, oh, I should be taking this or that action, and starting to feel what it feels like to have that impulse and let it move through and let it go. And yeah, I just feel like that's been super, super valuable
Yes,
for
I
me.
just had a vision of having Jake Michael guiding a guided meditation in one of our live
Oh,
ceremonies
yeah.
for our Ascension Arts school community. Oh my
Let's go.
God!
Let's go.
We get to do ceremonies live together.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to practice peace. These things sound so easy. So I want you to just give an understanding for us of Jake of the struggles that we experience and the benefits that we get to
Mm,
experience with the embodiment of practice peace. What have you
mm,
seen in yourself and in your work?
yeah. Yeah, and I want to highlight the language here because, practice piece is something that didn't really land for me for a long time. Like I had this feeling, this sense that peace was like a state that I would arrive at once I achieved the right frame of mind. It was like, oh, once I understand, then I'll feel peaceful. And what I've been learning little by little is that peace is something that needs to be cultivated. And the way to cultivate something is to practice it, right? If I want to learn a sport, I got to practice, I got to repeat the iterations. And so for me, peace is something that I can practice if I want to have more of it in my life. And again, seated meditation can be super supportive for this because one of the things that I started to notice in myself is that all sorts of challenging experiences would come up, even when life around me was fairly tranquil, right? It's a whole nother conversation about ending up in a situation where you're physically safe. But once you're physically safe, the tragedy is that most of us still don't feel peaceful, right? I'm sure you've had that experience of being in a context where everything around you is chill, right? But then you don't feel chill, you don't feel okay. And so practicing peace is about coming into relationship with the different kinds of feelings that come up in our bodies and sort of disconnecting from the story, and I'm super supportive of the kinds of therapies that engage in the narratives and the intellectual spaces. But I also think it's really needed to cultivate this recognition that when a story comes up in my mind, the challenging part about it is the feelings that come about that are triggered by that story. And so practicing peace is about learning not just to let it go, but also learning to let it stay and having that capacity to be present when your nervous system is activated for one reason or another, and to not run away either physically or psychologically, somatically.
Yeah, it's perfect when you're like A perfect example when you're trip sitting.
Uh-huh. Oh my
Like how
gosh.
many times in Zendo it's just been like the craziest chaos in the
Yeah.
world
Yeah.
in front of you, and you're just practicing peace.
Oh my gosh. And it's so easy to underestimate the power of just being present in a space without having to say anything, without having to take any physical actions, but just being present in a state of peacefulness and the way that that radiates outwards into the space. And like, yeah, I had an experience recently of holding space for a person who accidentally took a huge dose of acid and was just totally out of their wits, really having a hard time. And I was surrounded by other people who had experience supporting that kind of thing, but it was too much for them and they couldn't self regulate. And it got to the point where I was not only holding space for the person on acid, but I was also holding space for the people who were trying to hold space and breaking down, you know? And all I was doing was practicing peace. I was practicing that capacity to witness all of the intensity that was being experienced in that moment without freaking the fuck out, right? Can I remain regulated? Can I remain connected to my breath? Can I remain in trust? While having the skills to acknowledge when actions do need to be taken, obviously, right? Because there's
Yes,
the
and really,
medical and all of
really
that.
seeing the effect of that, how much people get to feel safe and
Oh my
surrender
gosh.
to what they're going through because they feel the sense of peace in the space. And as a space holder, this is something you develop. As a combo practitioner,
Yeah.
this is something that I build
Oh my
through
gosh. Yeah,
tolerance
I've seen
of
it.
seeing challenges in front of me. And it's something that we get to practice.
It's a practice, exactly.
I love that.
Yeah.
So that was earth. So we're switching to the fire
Yeah.
and the power to radiate your authenticity. As
Yeah.
we're talking about social anxiety, being in your head, worry about what people are going to say, or if you're going to bother someone else or make someone uncomfortable, and actually entering a space of radiating your own authenticity. So I'd love for you to speak with that, Jake. Like, what's the power of that, the
Yeah.
importance of that, and what have you noticed in
Mm.
people you've helped with?
Yeah, and this one is connected to the fire element for a very important reason. And one of the visuals that I hold in my heart about this is this little ember of our truth. And oftentimes we're in this space, you may find yourself in this space of feeling like your truth is just this little tiny little red glowing ember buried underneath a mountain of ashes of self-abandonment and a challenge of showing up in your full truth. And there's this practice of, in order to radiate our authenticity, we need to cultivate that inner fire, right? And the boundaries that I set in the world don't need to be castle walls that I build to keep bad things out and let good things in, but they can be a result of having a healthy fire, right? Which is, if you cross that boundary in an unhealthy way, you might get burned. And it's not because I don't love you, and it's not because you're not welcome at a fundamental level, but it's because you're coming into contact with my truth. And my truth might say, no, I don't accept this. I don't accept what you're doing. Um, and yeah, the aspect of the self abandonment that comes from people pleasing, right? This desire, and often such a beautiful desire to care for the people around us, right? You know, speaking for myself, like I just want the people in my life to have a decent experience, you know? And so, but then, yeah, catering to the needs of others in a way that I'm abandoning myself, like that is not sustainable. And so, radiate your authenticity is about cultivating the capacity to make other people uncomfortable with your truth. And a practice that's super supportive of that is finding yourself in a space where you notice that you want to say something, but you feel like it's going to make the person uncomfortable. And slowly but surely introducing the courage to say that anyways. And it can start small and grow over time. But getting your foot in the door with that, where you might find yourself in a situation where you're at a party and someone comes up to you and wants to take a picture of you in your face or something, and it doesn't feel right. And instead of just being like, cheese, you know, you're like, actually, no, thank you. Like, I don't want a photo right now. And then it can go into really, really big and important situations. And that's so much of this work is about the cultivation of capacity, right? What is the capacity that I have to be present and peaceful in intense situations? What is the capacity I have to respond in a situation rather than react to my impulses? And what is the capacity that I have to speak my truth, even though it might be difficult to receive from the people around me?
Yes, to master yourself in a
Yeah.
way that you're respecting your inner world, your anger, creating a healthy relationship with your anger instead
Yeah.
of suppressing it or projecting it,
Mm-hmm.
which is such a life path to develop. And the result of that is to, yeah, truly, even as a sitter, to
Mm-hmm.
understand the importance
Yeah.
of having boundaries
Yeah.
and the importance of having to say, like, I had to say, like, real clear
Yeah.
no's
Yeah.
in so many
And
ways
it's
that
tough.
we get to practice that, because your people pleaser will come along and that
Mm-hmm.
will drain your energy,
Yeah.
and it will drain and it will not support others even if you
Yeah.
think is supportive. So big part of holding space is to really have those boundaries that you
Mm-hmm.
get to know about yourself, respect other
Yeah.
people's boundaries, and to embody that from a place of how to even speak your truth
Mm-hmm.
in a way that might make someone else uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but can also be expressed skillfully
Yeah. Exactly. That's the
to be
art.
well
That
received.
is the art. Yeah.
Hopefully, not every time, but well
Yeah.
received in your
We do
best
what we can.
possible way. That
Yeah.
you are at least, yeah, coming up with that honorable space.
Exactly. And it's empowering, and that's a lot of this as well as the reclamation of our power of can I step into my own expression in a way that is true to myself and not become a victim to life circumstances and to the people around me.
Amazing. So that was fire, radiate your authenticity. So
Mm-hmm.
now we're going to talk about surrendering to the flow
Yeah.
and connecting with the element of water. And that is such a big one. Some people are super in the flow and let's just go with the flow and just whatever you want. And it
Mm-hmm.
really, really like
Mm-hmm.
stepping into that frequency. Other people are completely the opposite, super more in the masculine of having to figure it out everything,
Yeah,
having
yeah.
to know about everything.
Rigid. Yeah.
And what we always talk about is that understanding of leading and
Yeah.
following God. That's your
Mm-hmm.
leader, and
Mm-hmm.
then also leading the people,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of our purpose in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one of the ways I like to think about this, and this is your beautiful share, is the analogy of dance and music, right? Which is that even when I'm the leader in a dance, I'm still following the music, right? And I think of life as it's unfolding as the music. It's the dance of the universe, right? It's like one song, and we're all part of it. And learning to listen to that song and to dance with it and to flow with it feels like super fundamental to me as well. Yeah.
So tell me a bit about what is what how do you work with people into supporting them to surrender in a way that feels in alignment, and to also, yeah, be part of the flow in a better way.
Yeah. Yeah. So surrender to the flow is of course the water element, pillar. And to me, this one resonates super deeply. And it's been like, I think each of us has our own resonance with different aspects of these elemental archetypes. Like I'm super kind of air, water vibes. And so it's been part of my journey to deepen into the earth, fire. But part of what I love about surrender to the flow is that feeling of I can give myself up. I don't have to be in control all the time of all these situations. And sometimes that comes naturally and sometimes it doesn't at all, right? There's that inclination to control situations, especially when I feel afraid or when something is intense or urgent. But surrender to the flow is about this recognition that life is happening and it's following these patterns that are unfolding with so much beauty and intricacy, right? You look out into nature and it just screams harmony, right? It's like everything is part of a flow and everything is moving in response to the energies within and around them. And I think so much of wisdom is less about how can I figure it all out and then take all the actions and do all the things. And more of it is about how can I listen more deeply? How can I listen more deeply to the feelings that I'm having and to the energy of the space and to the context that I'm in, and offer myself up as a response to the moment? You know, every moment of life can be framed as this question of, and so what? What's next? And instead of going into that intellectual space of doing your checklists and your this, that, or the other pro cons, to really drop into a space of surrender and to acknowledge that surrender doesn't mean doing nothing, right? But surrender means I'm going to come into harmony to what is called for, what is appropriate, what feels natural as the unfolding expression of who I am as an individual.
And how does someone practice that? Like what's on the other side?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a practice that takes years, right? And each of us is going to have our own pathway into it. But one of the things that I find super supportive is a complement to meditation, because meditation is often this seated practice where we're cultivating the capacity for stillness. But stillness isn't the only aspect of life, right? There's stillness and there's movement, and they flow together, right? Even in my perfect stillness of meditation posture, what you find is that everything is moving. It never stops. Everything is moving all the time. And so one of the practices that is really supportive for this pillar is intuitive movement, where you put on a song that you really love, something that you really connect to in a deep emotional way, and you allow your body to express some kind of movement that isn't intellectual, isn't planned, isn't something that you saw on TikTok or whatever it is, right? But it's a listening, and you fall into the space of listening. You drop into a space of receptivity to what wants to come through. And so the intuitive movement is a complement to that seated meditation practice that allows you to connect more deeply to who you are. What is your expression in the world?
Houch, houch. Amazing. So now we're entering the ether world.
Yeah.
What is the
Harmonize with life.
harmonize with life?
Hmm.
So tell me, Jake, how do we harmonize with life?
I have no idea. You tell me. I'm just kidding. No, no, I definitely have no idea. But I've got some experiences and some tools that have been super supportive to me. And one of them is this framework, right? This concept that there are these different elemental expressions. And one thing that's really fun is like doing elemental embodiment practices where I might just feel into what does air feel like, or what does water feel like, or fire, earth, right? And feeling that in my body and opening up this acknowledgement that each moment might call for something different, right? In one moment, it might be radiate your authenticity. It might call for fire. It might call for that spark and that heat. In another moment, it might call for that self mastery of stopping that impulse, right? And not just following through with some sort of fiery reaction. And so it's that acknowledgement that these elements balance each other, and any one of these elements out of balance creates disharmony and creates destruction in the world of various kinds, right? The destruction of fire is so clear, right? It consumes all of the things around it. And we see that in unhealthy masculinity, which is a huge part of the work that I do as well, is like, what does it mean to show up as a healthy masculine in this life? And I think so much of that is learning to wield fire bending, right? Is how do I wield that energy? And part of that is water, right? I need to learn about water. I need to cry. I need to learn about tears and the expression of surrender and of flow and of gentleness and of crashing in different ways, right? Because water can crash too. But yeah, this pillar is really about embodying the inner avatar, right? We all have this capacity to bring harmony to the elements. And so getting to know ourselves more deeply about what elemental expressions feel most natural and most aligned, and then calling ourselves into deeper mastery of that, but also calling ourselves into those spaces that might feel outside of the comfort zone, and that's going to be uncomfortable a lot of the time. And I've moved through a lot of discomfort of like, man, I really want to step towards the masculine energy, even when it feels overwhelming. I want to bring a little more fire into my body and connect my roots into the earth, because all of that air gets me whoosh, lost in space sometimes, and all the overthinking and the anxiety. So, yeah, harmonize your life is just about acknowledging oneself and bringing harmony and balance to how we are in our expression in the world.
To navigate the waves of
To
wonder,
navigate the waves of
being
wonder.
all of the
Yes.
elements. And
Yeah.
yeah, this is such an amazing guideline, even for a burner,
Yeah.
to remember in your experience, in any psychedelic experience, and in the psychedelic experience of
Of
life.
life. Yes. Thank you.
So just tapping into them again, we start with master yourself,
Air,
connecting with air, practice peace,
earth.
radiate your authenticity, surrender to the flow, and harmonize with life.
Oh.
Yay. Thank you so much, Jake, for
Thank you.
sharing this beautiful journey with us. I hope it activates you in the highest ways.
Yeah.
If you are ready to step into an integration framework that really takes you to the other side and saves you all the time by looking for other options, like this is an option for you. And if you are also ready to develop your own integration framework, if that's part of your mission, we are here for you.
Yes.
And I'm so proud of you, Jake
Thank you. Thank you. I
Michael.
love you,
And a
Lua.
blessing to all of those listening to us right now.
Yeah.
If you are in our school community, congratulations to making all over here and to receiving and being part of this prayer.
Yeah.
If you are forgot what I was going to invite you to, but I'll invite you everything.
All the things.
All the things,
Combo
yes.
body bless anybody.
All the things. Staying tuned with us. Please share what came through for you. We will love to hear the blessings and the miracles and the insights and the support that we get to create community together. Yay! Thank you,
Yay.
Jake.
Thank you so much.
Any final
Blessings.
words?
Oh my gosh, just thank you to you. I'm so grateful for your presence in my life and your mentorship and your knowledge and wisdom. And thanks to all of you for showing up in a way. Obviously, being here and listening to this, you care about growth, you care about showing up in the world in a beautiful way. And that is really awesome. So respect, and maybe see it out there.
Yes, may we create the better world that we know is possible,
One day at a time.
and gather psychedelic community and plant medicine warriors that are really here wanting to do this work with integrity, with safety, and in the highest ways for us to transform ourselves and the world. Yay! So we send a prayer to all beings, to all medicines, to all community. And thank you so much. Yay!
Thank you.
See you next time.
Ay, 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 ay.
Wow.
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 Wow. Wow. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good, so good to us.